Hello folks, hope you're having a good start to the end of your week. We are currently on Thursday. Hope you're doing really well. I'm doing okay. Hopefully the Q&A session tomorrow goes pretty well. There's some pretty cool questions on there that I'm assuming you'll get a huge kick out of me going over and ranting over ever so slightly. If you like what I do, the subscribe button is down below. The Patreon button is also down below if you want to get yourself into the prize draw that is on the 3rd of September. There is £100 worth of free models going to be given away in that draw. So if you want to be involved, become a member of the Patreon at any level and you can get yourself onto there. So, moving on. Oh, also, if you're going to get any models, make sure you get them from Composite Games and use the promo code Northern Exile down below to get yourself 5% off at checkout. Not a lot of time today because I've got loads of stuff to do before the weekend, but let's jump into some hobby nightmares, shall we? Melon says, greetings Exile, love your content. It's a great niche you found. Cheers, man. As I've heard people getting all kinds of stories off their chests in hobby nightmares, I thought I'll share mine. As it's about people worth knowing about and remembering, and grim fate and perseverance. It's about my friends. I live in a small city, about 300,000 people, so no friendly local games store, no Games Workshop store or anything. Well, to be fair, the city I live nearby is around about that, and we've got a Games Workshop and game stores and stuff. Our wargaming community formed through sheer luck and word of mouth, at around 2007 to 2008. I, 15-year-old at the time, joined a year later by finding the Space Wolf novel in the library for kids, and wondering, WTF did I just read? Two people introduced me to the hobby of 40k later, and their names are Victor and Dennis, stress on the Y. Let's talk about Victor first. Victor, call sign Historian, was the leader, the beating heart of the group, the man of many talents and passions. Working primarily as a lawyer, he also studied history, played airsoft and multiple tabletop wargames. Victor took it upon himself to organise everything too. Thanks to him, we moved from literally gaming in a basement to a somewhat nicer place he rented. Through Victor we ordered all of our minis, including my Eldar Battle Force, because again, no official Games Workshop shops were around. Without Historian, our community wouldn't be able to exist coherently, and I'm forever grateful for it. I think we all need to give a round of applause to the victors in our lives. We all have them, right? We all know them. Or maybe you are that person. I think I'm that person for my friends most of the time. I'm the one who organises things and does things. Think about the person in your life who organises things for you. Going out, you all know those people. You all know those people who you wouldn't go out unless they were around. Because they invite you. Yeah, let's all remember those people. Now about Dennis. You see, if Victor had the group held together with his hard work and enthusiasm for the hobby, Dennis was the reason I stayed. Thing is, he played orcs. Picture this. I am a shy teenager surrounded by grown adult in camouflage, airsoft suits, beer and weird terminology, in a gloomy basement. And then this guy with a grin on his face yells, "Wah!" and moves a giant blob of poorly painted, funny-looking orcs through a cardboard curtain. I didn't know much about strategy, but this scene convinced me that I can take it and I can make it. Of course, Dennis was my opponent through my baby steps in 40k. Always smiling and really enthusiastic, he guided me through the basics of 5th edition, taught me tactics, and was always there when I wanted to try one of my wild rosters. One day, I tapped a whole mob of boys in close combat with a single Wraith Lord, because his toughness was too high for them to punch through. The feeling of, I'm actually doing this, was so satisfying. Thanks to Dennis, I play 40k even today, yet people underestimate that feeling of, oh my god, I'm actually doing this. So it doesn't come easily to some people, Fast forward to 2012. I head off to another city to study journalism in university. I never played 40k there because local wargaming clubs had monthly membership fees and I was broke as hell. Also, at the time, I somewhat lost contact with my old friends, because we weren't such social media addicts like we are today. At September 26th, 2014, we lost Denis. Oh no. When Russia invaded Ukraine for the first time, Denis, who served as a simple infantryman, came under heavy fire at his post. He saved 5 of his comrades by dragging them one by one into a nearby trench before being mortally wounded by a mortar shell. Denis died a hero, but that meant little to me, as I lost a close friend for the time being. Also, being too far away, I couldn't even attend his funeral. That's so bad, man. That sucks. That was Crimea, not Crimea. Was it Crimea? I think it was. Anyway. In 2016, after finishing my studies, I came back to my home city, found a job, and met some of my old friends. You guys still play? I asked. Turned out, yes, they very much played, thanks to Victor's efforts. Our club now was considerably larger, with up to 8 people playing at the same time. We also teamed up with the local Magic the Gathering group to save up on rent. For the next 6 years, the community thrived. We literally ran out of space for our miniatures and had to move to another place. I was satisfied with my Eldar collection and started a Tau army, then Raven Guard, then Custodes. Dude, when you get a group of hobbyists and it's actually a close-knit place and you're all pushing in the same direction, that is the mecca of wargaming. That is when you buy your wargaming supplies and your armies and you don't regret a single thing. Do you know what I mean? In 2022, as you all know, Russia invaded again. Now, in an all-out attempt to occupy all of Ukraine. My city was under siege from day 2. After more than a month of gruesome fights, invaders were driven back. We barely had time to pull ourselves together when, today, on July the 22nd, our good friend historian has passed away. Fucking war, man. Jesus Christ. Now, this seems like it's a world away. I know this seems like it's weird to all of you listening who are not in this situation. But it's only a couple of generations ago our grandparents were going through this very same thing. You know? This is what war does, man. This is it, right? Victor's death was like a gut punch to us all. I mean, he was the guy, the founder, the leader, and now, no more. I still can't believe how many people came to say their farewells to him. After a couple of days, we called everyone to come to the club. We drank a lot, cried a lot, remembered a lot. Everybody agreed on one thing. We have to go on. Our community has to continue, and so we did. Victor's closest friend, Igor, now runs things. Victor's vast guard army is in the public domain, and our newcomers play with his miniatures. We paint our models with his paints. There are 2 guys that joined us recently to play 40k. They are 12 and 14 years old. I teach them how to play. I'm 29 now, just as Denis was when he died. I hope you are proud of me, Den. It feels like we live on borrowed time. 3 of my friends are still in the army. Air raid sirens blare out nearly every day and no end is in sight. The war goes on, but so do we. Thanks for reading my story. Sincerely, Melon. Dude, what a fucking story, man. My God. This is the thing, this is what the channel's for. There is no other channel that does that gets stories like that. Do you know what I mean? That's incredible. Like, the hobby literally bringing people together in the worst of times. Not depression, not like, you know, mental health issues, which are bad enough. No. Literal war. Literal, life-ending war. And the hobby still bringing people together. By the way, if you ever think it's in bad taste to play a war game when there's wars going on in the world, I invite you to listen to that story and go fuck yourself. Alright? That's a nonsense argument for nonsense people. Like, it's the greatest thing in the world, and it pulls people together like this. If it can do it for them, it can do it for you. I'm telling you now. Gaming groups are the shit. They're amazing. They're amazing. They've saved lives, man. This hobby, I will say this, no matter how bad Games Workshop get, And I know the hobby's not all about Games Workshop, but they are the Disney of our place, right? No matter how bad Games Workshop get, I will always look at it as a net positive because of the sheer amount of lives Warhammer saves. It does. I don't care what anyone says. It does. I get so many letters and calls and messages of how the hobby saves people. It's ridiculous. You think I'm doing a good job with the channel? Times that by 1,000 per day. That's what the hobby does. I'm contributing a small part of that. But that's what the hobby does. It's amazing. Alright, Lily says, "Hi North, you can call me Lily." I have done. "I've struggled with mental health for most of my life, going back to childhood. I'm now in my late 20s and still struggle with normal life, such as socialising due to severe anxiety." Well, you struggle with that. I struggle with just reading sometimes because I'm clearly retarded. "I got into the painting and crafting side of the hobby via my old D&D group of my at the time partner's friends. It's been around 7 years now, and I'm still in love with the hobby. It helps me feel accomplishment and pride where otherwise I wouldn't. I've loved the lore of Warhammer 40,000 and fantasy, as well as miniatures in general, for a long time, but I've always struggled to make that step from being a painter to a wargamer due to my mental health." I get that. I feel that pain. Yeah. I completely get what you're saying. "For the past 5 years, I've been trying and failing to integrate myself into various local game stores and have moved around several times in the time. I've been attending therapy with the goal of learning to socialise and get to a local game store to play games now for almost 3 years. At the time I lived in an area with only one game store and the player base was very small, and generally not that welcoming. They had their clique and weren't really interested in including a new person despite trying to find a place there. But this story isn't about them. It's about the lovely people I found after my most recent move. I've lived in this new town for about 7 months, and had visited the friendly local game store for paints and supplies multiple times. Every time the store owner, let's call him Dave, loved to talk games and would try to include me in whatever the locals were looking to play at the time due to my mental health, and I wasn't able to take them up on it. That changed at the time of writing last week. After building up courage over a bit, I decided to attend a demo game of Moonstone at the store for a game. Needless to say, I was scared shitless. In a moment of courage, I decided to attend and told them that I would. The day of, I got ready to leave and had the pain of anxiety trying to leave my house and get to the shop, but chose not to let that stop me. Good for you, man. Again, this seems easy to most people. It's not, dude. I've been there. It's not. Doing new things on your own. Oh my days, it's horrible. Like, you think, oh, I can't do that. There's no way I can do that. It's weird. And I can't, you know. My uncle, right? He goes to bars and pubs on his own. And just sits there. And talks to people and has a chat. And looks around and has a chat and he has fun. I can't do that. I go there with my friends, sure, but I can't just go there on my own and make friends. That's you know, I guess you're having the same feeling about that, you know? I'd always find an excuse not to do it if I ever, you know, thought I had to. Carrying on, I had previously informed Dave, due to how friendly he was, that I had some mental health struggles, and he was very supportive and assured me that it would be understood. I arrived at the store 30 minutes early to let myself acclimatise. Still anxious, I shuffled around looking at paints and models until I was ready for the demo game. I sat down at the game table and Dave began telling me the rules, and before long we were playing Moonstone. There were 3 other people at the table, 2 of which were playing their own, and another friendly guy off to the side watching our 2 skirmishes. We quickly became friendly, cracking jokes and enjoying the game. All people at the table were incredibly friendly and felt like friends in no time. One of the other players at the table was the employee of the store. Let's call him John. John had been especially talkative and helpful through the games as he played his own match versus his opponent. I shook Dave's hand after the match and got up to look at the models to start a troop for Moonstone. I asked John if I could borrow his rulebook so I could read about the units to know what I'd like to purchase. After choosing I brought the box up to the counter and walked away for a moment to pick out a new paint, as it was all I could afford at the time. When I had gotten back, I attempted to grab the box of models. John told me he had already rang it up. I was confused and wasn't sure what he meant, as I had not paid for anything yet. I expressed my confusion, and he said something along the lines of, "Listen, I bought it for you. Welcome to the hobby." I was absolutely stunned and couldn't contain the pure happiness I felt. I profusely thanked him, and he just told me not to worry about it. I am now joining their league for Moonstone in the coming days, and excited and no longer afraid of enjoying the hobby with others. Thanks for reading, and thank you for what you do for the awareness of mental health. Now, a lot of you will be saying, that guy is trying to get in this woman's pants. I do not think so. I have been in this situation. I have been in the situation where you see somebody who just needs a hand, who just needs a bit of help, who literally is just like, I need this hobby. It'll be amazing for me to get into and know what I'm doing with it. This guy stepped up to the plate and has done his part. That's what he's done. Well done to him. And stay in the hobby, please. If you have these issues, I'm telling you now, the hobby will go a long way to helping you out. It's not a panacea. It's not a be-all, end-all. This will solve all your problems. But if you use it as scaffolding, I've said it before, your house, your mental health is a house that you're building, right? You use the hobby and other networks, support networks, as scaffolding around that building as you build it. And then eventually, the scaffolding becomes part of your house. You take it inside, you take all the components inside, and it is there for your benefit in the house. You don't need it anymore, but it's there because you want it there, right? Then when you do need it again, you just erect the scaffolding again, and away we go, right? That's how you should look at the hobby in terms of mental health. Anyway, moving on. Grail Knight says, Yo North, Grail here. I've been a Games Workshop manager for quite a while. We are talking almost a decade of service now. I wanted to write in to discuss a few things, mainly fearing for one's job, and the one instance I think I almost got fired. Something confirmed to me later by a colleague. So, when I got this job, I initially started out as a store body before finally, when my manager left, I threw my hat into the ring for the job, and I got the job and loved it straight away. So you took over your boss's old store, okay. One thing I've always needed to be super aware of, however, was the politics of Games Workshop. Before I took over the store, my manager took me for a drink and told me, in no uncertain terms, there were certain trainers and people in the company, especially headquarters, that I was to trust under no circumstances whatsoever. He even gave me names and descriptions. Wow. They would step on me to make a point, badmouth me to others if I dared annoy them, even without knowing it, even slightly. And their opinions, unfortunately, carried a lot of weight at headquarters. Yeah, that was a bit of a fucking wake-up call, let me tell you. That advice, though, let me sail under the radar. That advice, though, let me sail so much under the radar that, when another manager's position came up closer to my apartment at the time, I applied for that other job and got it, thanks to 3 years of what was viewed as outstanding service. Right, so you're using that advice to fly under the radar. I like it, okay. I never had that, so I never flew under the radar. I flew above the radar, flipping everybody off as I went, unfortunately. My new store had an ailing sales rate and was considered a dead store that was in dire need of a lift. In essence, I was leaving Microsoft to try to start Apple somewhere else or something like that. My old store ran itself. This was going to take some work. Why do it then? Well, it saved me around £300 a month in petrol and fares. It also allowed me to head out after work in my local city and have a good time whenever I wanted to. So, I got to work. I went into the new store and put a post on the Facebook page of the store asking the regulars to meet me on the first Thursday gaming night to discuss the store and what we were going to do about it moving forwards. I involved them in the process. I made cups of tea and coffee, I brought biscuits and cakes, and we sat around the table and had a good natter. We put a monthly tournament in place in the store, started the bedrock of a local, long-term narrative campaign, and organised a trip to Warhammer World in that summer that would be paid for by a prize draw where I would give away some of my vast unbuilt model collection backlog. The lads were chuffed, and we started the preliminary tournament games that night. Dude, you are killing it there. You are literally involved. These guys will die for you. Regular gamers will die for you. If you're a Games Workshop manager and you involve them in the running of the store, and you let them run their own tournaments within reason, and you're a good guy, dude, they will perish for you. I'm telling you now. They'll break the back for you. These are loyal gentlemen. This is why they are in the hobby. Right? They're loyal to the hobby. And if you are somebody who makes sure that they can do their hobby and do it well and do it in a nice area, I'm being serious. That they will fall on their sword for you. They will. They will take their models and go elsewhere if you wanted them to. Anyway, the store from here started to pick up some steam. We were selling products and the numbers of the store were increasing. Our first year was amazing and went past in a blur, to be honest. By the end of the first year, our sales were up 72% and climbing. It was the happiest time of my professional life. At the training days and things like that, I had kept myself to myself, kept myself under the radar, and said nothing that need not be said. I gave nothing away, kept my cards close to my chest, nodded along with all of the nonsense that was being spewed at the training days, and remained sober when I was there. I didn't drink. Dude, you are literally... You are playing the game, son. You are doing well. Unfortunately, HQ would come to find me if I would not come to them. They wanted to know how I turned the store around so quickly, as apparently it set off some alarm bells. Why? Why? Okay, the one time I heard, right, so my trainer said to me one day when I was going over about, you know, how my store was doing quite well and how, you know, I was quite happy with the way that it was going. He told me that I shouldn't get like complacent in how the store was going because, and I quote, sorry, there's the clear my throat there, and I'm quoting here, like ad-libbing, but quoting from him. There was another store that was doing amazing numbers. Like, this guy went in there and was doing amazing numbers. And head office were holding this guy up and saying, look, this is a decent guy. He's doing really well. What a guy. You know, we're hiring the right people. Until they found out, right, stock from his lists were going missing. Why? Because he was doing buy one, get one free deals without anybody knowing. Yeah, that's why he was selling so many models. He was giving away a Land Raider with a Rhino. So he'd give you a free Rhino with your Land Raider because he didn't give a shit about the models and he knew how Little Games Workshop valued the models, so he just gave them away. Needless to say, he got fired. But, you know, since then, a lot of trainers look at a huge upswing in numbers not as a good thing, but as a cause for suspicion. Right? Yeah, this is what they've done to you, my friend. They headed in unannounced one day. Yeah, they do that. One trainer and a health and safety officer. Oh no. They pulled me away from customers to sit me down, in front of everybody by the way, as they're walking around the store, and talk about where keys are kept, what the safe protocol is for keeping cash on hand on the premises, and things like that. Elementary stuff. I am a 7-year veteran at Games Workshop by this point. I am losing customers as I am not speaking to them due to this interruption. Then, the focus goes to the amount of games being played in the store. They are shocked and slightly appalled. I am told the following. Okay. Number 1. Playing games in the store takes the focus off of beginners and throws it onto regular customers, who, essentially, do nothing for our customer count as they are already here. Yeah, that is a reductive argument, dude. And there are companies that still do that and they fail, right? Have you ever noticed how companies now are very quick to say, hey, anything you get as a new customer, you keep even as an old customer. So anything we give to new customers, old customers also get that. Because loyalty is a thing that needs to be rewarded for your customer base, right? Right, cool. What they're saying to you is here, is that the guys who are already in the hobby don't need to be retained. We need to be recruiting. I disagree. I think recruitment and retention are just as important as each other. You should be doing both. You should be retaining people in the hobby by giving them a place to go and do their hobby and have fun, right? And we should be recruiting people in the hobby by showing them the people who have been retained. That's what we should be doing. Not one or the other. Don't be ridiculous. Number 2. Regular gamers, in this instance, suck time and energy from store managers who need to babysit them. In essence, they strangle a store of its energy. This I kind of agree with. Because it happened to me. I eventually had people in my store who needed babysitting. I couldn't kick them out because they were nice guys. They just had certain quirks that meant if you left them unattended with the general public, they would turn the general public off of the hobby. That's just how they were. So I needed to be aware at all times, and yes, it drained energy away from me and whatever else I was doing in the store. They would also call you over for rule disputes, things like that. Things that aren't really my job. My job here is to sell the hobby, dude. It's not to adjudicate your games. I am not a tournament organizer, right? I provide you the space. I don't provide you with anything else. It is what it is. There are a few people there who didn't know boundaries either. I even had customers turning up to my house, to my flat that I was renting. Right, they would turn up and say, "Hey, do you want to go grab a drink, or do you want to go do that?" I'd be like, "No, I definitely don't. I definitely don't. I don't want you at my house. We're not friends, right? If we are friends, I'll swap numbers with you, and we'll go, and I'll organise something elsewhere. Do not turn up to my house, because nerds who have certain environmental and societal issues in their brains don't know boundaries." So I do agree with them to a lesser extent on point number 2, right? Yes, regular customers can sometimes zap the energy from the manager in the store. I agree. But there are ways around that to mitigate that rather than just saying don't come into my store anymore. Number 3. They are a health and safety hazard. Okay, this I have to listen to. They are a health and safety hazard, as we have no idea of the mental state of everybody who comes into a store. How fucking insulting. How horrible is that? How horrible is that? Okay, right. Now, don't get me wrong. As I've just said, some of them have a few issues. But my God, just looking at everybody in the hobby and going, what a weirdo. Dude, you're Games Workshop. You're supposed to be on our side. Like, what's going on? Especially in our hobby. That sucks, man. They are a health and safety hazard, as we have no idea of the mental state of everybody who comes into a store, especially in our hobby. There are countless horror stories. Okay, alright. Here's another thing. I kind of agree with what they're saying in terms of the spirit of what they're saying, right? You know, people in the hobby can be a hazard because not everybody who comes into the hobby is normal. Anybody who's in this hobby will tell you you're well aware of at least a couple of weirdos at your local store, right? Okay, fine. I get that. But just saying, because one of you in 10,000 might be into looking at kids in a wrong way, all of you aren't allowed in my store. Do you realise how stupid that sounds? And how little money that store is going to make? Wait, if you have an attitude like this. Okay? Yeah. So, sell them their models and move on. Remove all gaming from the store. Jesus Christ. I could not keep my mouth shut. Please read this verbatim. Okay, cool. And I quote. So you are asking me to rip the heart out of the store I've built and start again, right? Despite returning you a near 100% growth in sales since I've been here, you are literally asking me to stop doing what is working to adopt a method that I have seen does not work. End quote. Debate is the only thing I am good at aside from the hobby. So, believe me when I say what you just read there was verbatim what I said in a single statement to their argument. This statement almost got me fired. They said nothing at the time, just implored me to think about what they said before they left. Yeah, dude, they never say things to your face. Ever. Ever. They will send one person around who already doesn't like you to say it to your face, if you're lucky. If you're lucky. I had that. I had one trainer who really didn't like me. He was my trainer at the start, and essentially, I've gone over this story so many times. We soured on each other. We soured on each other. I didn't like his attitude towards my customers. I didn't like his attitude towards me at times, and that he expected me to take him out for beers whenever he came to town. I was like, no, you know, like, I want to go home, you know. Yeah, and I just, and whilst I enjoyed that, I would have loved to have gone for a beer with my trainer and not talk about GW, not talk about whatever I was doing, but it just wasn't that. It was near constant, like, you know, talk about the job, the Games Workshop, and how I'm going to do well on it. I'm like, dude, I'm not still working. I want to go home. Are we having a pint or not? You know? And that was just a small thing. There were many bigger things than that. So they sent him around to basically give me a verbal lashing whenever they wanted to. And yeah, it sucked. It was horrible. And there are many videos on the channel. I'm not going to go over them again because there are dozens of videos where I go over my time at Games Workshop. Anyway. Over the next few months, people from Games Workshop HQ would head in just to pop in, quote-unquote, and see how things were going. Yeah. People I had never met before or seen in my first year at the store. When I asked where they had come from, some had driven upwards of 3 hours to get to my store. Just on the off chance of visiting me then. Yeah, I don't think so. My calls from HQ asking me how I was had stopped. My calls from HQ asking me what I was doing in the store that day began. Oh no. I was now being pushed in training meetings to give my thoughts on how a store should be run, and things like that, like they were trying to catch me out and single me out. I was also being actively passive-aggressively ridiculed at training sessions. Things like, we don't wear that whilst doing our training, when referring to my rings. I have a few. I drive a Harley Davidson. They can suck my fat chode. This guy knows. This guy knows. And things like that, which were never an issue before, were clearly now distressing people. The same people. The same trainers, area managers, over and over again. Yeah, in this situation, dude, you really do feel like this slightest misstep will get you fired. I've been in this situation. The slightest misstep will get you fired. When I got somebody's name wrong on an email, and somebody came to my store to complain about it from HQ, a trainer came to my store to complain about the fact I've gotten somebody's name on an email wrong, I thought I was being fired. Literally. This is how petty these people are at times, right? Eventually, the pressure proved a little too much for me, and I started to pull back some of the gaming support in the store. I don't blame you, dude. I don't blame you. A lot of you will blame him. I don't blame him. I really don't. Especially if you want to keep your job. The thing is, even though gaming was still a thing in the store, my regulars took this as a bit of a betrayal. I kept the politics from them and told them that this was my decision and my idea. Maybe I should have been honest about the pressure from HQ, but then what? They complain online, name my store, that gets back to HQ, and then I'm fired for sure. Yeah, I see your logic, man. I see your logic. If you tell them HQ are having a go at you, then they complain online. Yeah, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. As you can guess, the money started to go down with my slight reversal in direction of travel for the store. Each month I saw the numbers go down, it broke my heart. The amount of times I'd be walking home and not sleeping, thinking of ways to rest the store's financial fall, after doing so well, got kind of ridiculous. It got to the point of my missus telling me to quit, that I looked like a zombie, I hated my own hobby, and wanted to do nothing but play video games, eat, shower, and fuck when I got home. The hobby was our thing. She's awesome, by the way. And now it was gone. I hated it, and by association, I resented her enjoyment of it. Oh my god. Yeah, you're getting it from both ends, dude. That sucks so much. That sucks so much, man. I get it though. I get it even now. I get it even now with YouTube. When if my numbers go slightly down, even though I know it's a natural cycle. Like, you know, my channel has peaks and troughs, right? I'll have a huge burst of growth that will genuinely generally slow down, and then go down, and then I'll have another steady growth, and then it'll slow down again, then I'll have a big growth again, and it'll slow down again. That's just how things go. But I still worry, because I would like to do this full time, sometime, because this is what I want to do with my life. I want to help people. I want to make sure that there's a space here to help people and to make sure that things are going well. So, you know, I panic. I can't even imagine the stress you were going under at this time. Because I did the same thing at Games Workshop as well. I'd see those numbers go up and down, and I would shit myself. I would literally shit myself. Not literally, but you know what I mean. Anyway, it was a few years ago now that I finally snapped and made a decision. I was going to run my store my way. I called another meeting of the regulars, the Brain Trust. I told them that I wanted to go in hard and heavy. What? I told them that I wanted to go in hard and heavy. I wanted constant gaming in the store, constant tournaments, the whole shebang. I wanted my store back, goddammit. If they fired me, they fired me, and I'd accept the consequences. I finally told them why gaming went away and why I just stopped supporting them in the store. The politics from above, the constant visits and phone calls about dropping sales, and even though their tactics caused the store's financial mire in the first place. We were going to run the store our way. Just in case I set up a Patreon and asked them to throw anything in there to go towards Warhammer World trips, or if I lost my job, it would be a few months' rent for me to get before I got another job. They all agreed, paying £5 a month to use the store. Wow. Wow. What did I say to you before? They'll break their back for you. This is how awesome regular gamers are. They will break their back for you, man. They will go to bat for you if you're in need. Some of the regulars scoffed at this suggestion until I gave them all the passwords to the account itself and showed them there was no bank account set up for it, so no money would leave the account without all of our say-so. 5 dudes I trusted were given passwords to keep everybody honest along with myself. To this day, it has only ever been used to pay for Warhammer World trips and flights for our customers when they represent the local gaming group and store, who now call my store home, at international tournaments. That's the trust we have in each other. That's probably the greatest thing I've ever heard. Honestly, that's such a good idea, to have like a pot for everybody, so you know you've got money for your Warhammer World trips. You know you've got money to buy models for somebody when they're having a bad time of it, when they lose their jobs, or just to help them pay their rent. That's a co-op, man. You've started a co-op in your Games Workshop. What a dude. Alright, okay. And the fact that, you know, 5 actual trusted regulars have the passwords and there's no bank account attached to it until you're going to pay for something, that's great. That's good stuff. I like that. Very clever. The store fucking exploded over the next few months. I saved all the analytics and trends showing where HQ's advice started and when it stopped. It showed the rise, fall and rise again of the store sales. We still have not recovered, but we are getting there. A few weeks ago, a friend of mine, let's call her Jen, stayed with me and my missus when she was going to a Mastodon gig in our local city. She works at head office, and over a few glasses of wine before a night out, she told me, "You know, they wanted to fire you, right?" Who? I asked. "Nottingham," she said. There was talk about you, there was talk about you a lot, tanking in the store because you were doing gaming and all of that kind of stuff. Now, she doesn't know any different. She's not really a gamer. I pleaded my case, telling her everything and even showing her the evidence of the rise, fall and rise again of our sales, during which time I was doing my tactics. She held up her hands. "I don't know about any of that. Like, it really does seem like you pulled the store through, though. I believe you." When they decide someone doesn't fit, they want them gone. The only reason I think they've given up is because you're just there, earning money, and they know they aren't scaring you away anymore. That's exactly what it is, dude. That's exactly what it is. That's from the horse's mouth as well. She's there all the time. That's exactly what it is. Right? They've given up trying to get rid of you. That's what it is. They've got no grounds to fire you, and they've given up trying to get rid of you. As soon as you're past your probation, right, and you're a full-time employee, that's it. Your feet are under the table. Unless you do gross misconduct or anything like that, or you're underperforming really badly, they're never getting rid of you. So you can basically run your store how you like, as long as you're making money. You know? I get that, I said, but it's not a great place to be. Not for the rest of your career, I mean. That got me thinking. There are other places I could do this job and do it better. I put feelers out there, and eventually, I found a job running a local game store for a small chain. A job that one of my regulars got me, through sheer word of mouth. It's slightly higher pay, and only a little further away from my store now. I applied, got the job, and next week I'm handing in my notice to Games Workshop. So all's well that ends well, but yeah, it's a disappointing end to quite an epic journey. All the best, Grail. That sucks ass that we have to lose a manager like you to a competitor simply because they can't keep a hold of you. But you did the right thing, man. You voted with your wallet, you voted with your time and your mental health, and you went to a job that's going to appreciate you more, that's paying you more. But you know why they're paying you more? Because you proved you can do it. You proved you're good. And one of their regulars says, oh, that Grail guy, man, he's amazing. He's amazing. Has he applied to the job here? Dude, give him it. He's amazing. That's what's happened. That is what's happened. Word travels fast. Your hobby is not a big... It is a small world, man. Word travels fast. As soon as people know you're a cheater, you're a bad gamer, or you're a good gamer, or you're a good manager, word travels fast, and you never know where it could end up. Well done to you for getting a new job and deciding your own destiny, but it sucks that we have to lose a manager like you in an official Games Workshop capacity. That sucks. Anyway, love you all long time. I'll speak to you tomorrow for a Q&A. There should be loads of funny questions on there tomorrow. I love you all. I'm going away for the weekend, so I'll see you when I'm back from Wales. Have a good one, and I'll see you then. Bye now.